so I'm just going to draw it in with yellow, and I'm just going to do it as fast as I can. And if you need to move, just feel free to move wherever you need to be. So I'm going to say, well, the house is sort of something that's, I can kind of see where it is. Here's kind of this line of the garden, and here's the line of the grass. So I'm looking at the big compositional lines. Okay, so that's the roof. There's the building. There is this fence, which also goes that way. Okay, so then I am painting with acrylics, and there is that great thing about them is they're going to dry, so I should be able to come back over. But I'm gonna do it a little bit as if I was painting in oils, just because that's what you guys are all doing. Okay, so I'm going to start. I'm going to say, okay, my pink flowers are going to be sort of in here, and then there's some more there, and there's a bunch up here. And the reason, if it was oils or pastels, I would definitely start, I spot in my flowers first, because I don't want to have to try to make them go over the green. And these are my violet flowers. Violet's not very good. I bought this new set of acrylics, and I haven't tried them, but they're called Open, I think. They're Golden is the brand, and they're called Open. And I think their thing is that they dry slower. So I was a little afraid to try them now. But the thing I've hated about acrylics in the past is that, well, number one, I'm an oil painter, and oil painters are big time snobs. And real painters use oils. Only those modern artists use acrylics. So there's kind of a snobby thing. But also just that they dry so fast, and you can have a beautiful color that you love, and then there it is drying your palette, and that is painful. So, but now I'm rethinking it all. So that's kind of, I'm really rethinking it because I was able to do these gifts for my niece and nephew so quickly in acrylics. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just put in the darks. The dark green. And this is also, if I was, oh, thank you so much. If I was gonna do this in, this is just how I would do it if I was doing it in pastels, because pastels, it's easier to get light over dark than dark over light. So putting in the darks works really great. With oils, I might do this way if I knew that I wasn't going to be able to, I just knew I wouldn't be able to come back and make the lights today. And the reason I like to start it dark is, I used to always be sort of saying, oh, look at that surface quality. I'm going to try to get that sort of surface quality. And then what happens is that you don't have the kind of depth, because there's a lot of depth under there. So by starting with the darks and then coming lighter, I can create that sense of depth. Whereas if I started light and then I put the darks on top, it's like the darks are closer to me physically, and that makes them look closer to me. They're on top, you know. I hope I'm making sense. So they're on top. So I'm trying to have the darks be under, and then because this is acrylics, it's going to dry really quick. I'll be able to, yeah, put the light leaves on. So the thing is, I was thinking, you know, how great kind of is it? Anyway, it's probably not drawn exactly right. It's not drawn exactly right. Maybe I should fix it. The house is up higher, so I'll do that. And then this will be some more of these guys right here. Yeah. Is that, you know, you're standing there and you're looking at this blank canvas, and it's kind of, you know, I don't feel intimidated myself anymore, so I've kind of forgotten how intimidating it is. But this, if you can just make something happen, just commit to something right away, then there's less, there's less time that you're standing around being anxious, I guess. Okay, so I'm gonna, let me see what color the house is, but I guess it's really dark something. And so, you know, if you wanted to try this, this is not a very big financial commitment. If you wanted to try buying just the primary colors and purple and green. So the primary and secondary, I don't have an orange, but the yellow and orange makes a decent enough orange. You could try this where you start with the acrylics and then finish with the oils.
Is that your plan for this one?
Well, I probably will never finish it. I mean, I might work on it again and record it and send it to you guys after or something. Since
That makes sense.
yeah. But that's what I have. I have been doing that, like I have been doing that a little bit. And it does really speed things up. I'm kind of slow. Actually, I know it doesn't look like I'm slow, but I'm a little slow. So I'm just going to kind of, these are those, I think this is a friend of mine's house in Vermont. And I photoshopped the garden. I moved some stuff. It's how I feel like if I'm out painting a garden, as long as I can see certain plants, they don't have to be exactly in the right place. I can just move them in my mind's eye. I think the longer you paint, the more you can get away with that. It's just that much harder. It's just kind of one more thing to keep track of, that you're changing things. And like I've seen myself, and I've seen others do things where they take out a tree, but they leave in the shadow, or they add a tree, but they don't add the shadow. So that, some kind of weird things can happen when you're trying to make things up. And then this, like I just realized I was kind of making, I might take that back tree out there. Oh no, I can put a green tree in there. And for painting outside, I gotta say, I really love painting in pastels. It's just so fast, and there's none of that, waiting around for stuff to dry, and there's not a second between thought and deed. You just like, here, do that. And you don't mix it, you don't get, and I don't let myself think about what I'm picking up very long either when I'm doing pastels. It's just like, I just figure all the thinking in the world is not going to really help me until I see it. I need to see it to know if it's good or not. And I do have a bunch of those. They're not very good. I had this idea I was going to become a YouTube hero or star. No, that's not happening. But I do have quite a few of my pastel demonstrations on YouTube just under my name, if you wanted to see them. I'm always trying to sell people on pastels because they're easier than oils. Okay, so see, I think you can see right there just that's on top. It makes it come forward. So eventually I would come back. But now I'm going to come down here and add some of the lighter things into these plants. Also, I have no idea what time it is. Somebody's got to tell me when it's 1:30?
1:40.
Okay, we started at 1:30, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Look how fast I was. I probably started early. Okay, so these guys, I'm just gonna, and that's a thing is too, I usually separate drawing and painting, but, and if you're uncertain about your drawing, it's really a good idea to separate drawing and painting, especially something like the boats or something where they, but these are just leaves, so, and a lot of times, like if there's I wanted to do something for you, I thought about doing something for you with rocks and stuff, something like you guys have done, but you're so good at it, I was like, and also like I don't think in my mind, I don't think I could do something where I did every rock. I just know it wouldn't be able to. So this is more about just suggesting things, not having to do quite so much work and just suggesting it. But I know that for, I didn't look at my list, that's why I can't think of anybody's name right this minute, but I know he had those, all those leaves, yeah, and he had all those leaves, and he just, I think he was, anyway, I just really wanted to do this for him, so that's why I'm filming this, really, it's for you, Lee. Okay, and then also, I've done a lot of garden paintings. It used to be the thing I was really known for back in the old days. And what I found is that I would try to do these strokes that were like the strokes of like the little leaves looked and stuff. And I would have a lot of variety in my lights. And one thing is, in my greens and my lights, but one thing is you can't exactly like, sometimes I start greens with reds. I mean, these are those Norwegian maples, so that's why I did that. But when you have real flowers, you can't be too weird about your other colors because you need to save those colors to make your flowers really look bright. So I might have a lot of variety going on in my lights, but then what I do is I keep the I consider it the base note. So the base note is the darks and it's running through, it's gonna run through and hold everything together. So I think, I don't know if you can extrapolate it to anything else, but it was kind of this feeling that that something has to kind of hold it firm, and I'd rather have all the variety in the light notes, and then have the baseline kind of hold it together. If that makes sense. Okay. All right, and I did, when I painted gardens, I also did a lot of flower paintings indoors of bouquets of flowers. And that really helped me too, because I didn't really, before I moved to Vermont from New York, I didn't really know anything about plants. And I started gardening, so that also helped me be a better gardener painter. But like the thing is, like, you know, the leaves, that's another way. Like I used to feel like every spring I would do another set of bad lilac paintings. It's like, oh, it's springtime now. But one thing is that the lilacs have a really specific kind of leaf, so that was kind of helpful too, to be able to know what lilac leaves look like. And like I painted delphiniums. A lot of people have delphiniums in their gardens in Vermont, and you know, I have painted bouquets of delphiniums and bouquets of irises and stuff. That it just really helped me to be an outdoor painter, to kind of learn more about just how you could quickly make those shapes, like without having to draw every leaf. And then that painting, I think I showed some of you last week, of Van Gogh's. That was a huge thing for me too, that painting. How he did gardens. And I, especially the last time over my painting, I've changed my thing about how I paint skies. Is until the beginning of this year, I always start at the top of my painting and work down. And now what I'm doing with my skies, I'm starting after the initial lay-in. I'm starting at the horizon line and working up, and then my ground, I work at the back and work forward, especially. Like I might not think about it too much in the beginning, but the last time over, and it's just so that each layer of color can be on top of what's actually behind it. So it's just easier to make something look on top that literally is on top. And trees, like this thing of making your trees dark to start with, That is the thing that made me a better tree painter. Up until then, I was like, I think I told you, I was just painting Lake Champlain. I was painting across the lake. All right, I don't know, let's see if I can get that blue. Yeah, these paints are pretty crummy, but they're good enough to lay in sometimes. Yeah, so I just have to go with the tree again, but you know, I just sort of, that's how it is, back and forth, back and forth. And trees and any kind of foliage, like if you look at them in the summer, you can't see that much of the leaves like in the middle, especially when they're all dark. Where you really see that it's a tree is along the edges. So that's what I focus on. That's where I tell this is a tree. Where I tell that story is on the edge by cutting in and out and or little tree holes and stuff that. So there's a lot of stuff that if you can, you can't, like on yours where you have all this, there's mostly sticks. But you know, that is part of why I haven't painted many pictures in the winter with trees. But I'm trying to do better at doing stuff I'm comfortable about. So I did more this winter than I ever have.
Painting, you mean painting leaves?
No leaves, trees without leaves,
Oh.
stick season. Yeah, I've done quite a few pastels that had no leaves. Okay, so, all right, so then back to my flowers. Also, I used to really do a ton of dabbing, where I was really, putting the paint on like that, and I might still do that a little bit, but I much more don't pick up my brush or my pastel anymore. I kind of connect things, and then I might come back in, with the green to make them more separate again, but yeah, I don't know. Okay, let's see if I can make something like this darker. These guys. And the last thing I do always in my paintings is I try to make decisions about the edges, about which edges are in and out of focus. So that, like when I think of how I'm finishing, that's the most thing, is making decisions about how I want your eye to travel through the painting. And that's the one thing I do that I'm not looking, I'm making it up, because anywhere you look is in focus. So what you have to do is you have to paint certain things like they would look if you weren't looking at them. Love that color. And I used to get so irritated with my teachers because they would, I don't know, maybe you guys have had teachers that were always willing to talk about finishing, but a lot of my teachers were not willing to talk about it. And they would say that, and I've said it myself many times, that the finish is more of a start. That you get a good start, the better your start is, the better your finish can be. And sometimes that's why, because I am working so fast on a lot of the finish days, I just never finish any of them. The pastels, nothing, I just leave them like they are. And it's partly that they've been started so quickly that I guess I just don't feel like, I don't know what it is really. So if the finish is just more of a start, well, what it is that you work on the beginning, or you start things in big masses of color, and you keep it in big masses of color until the only way to make it better is to break it down. So if you can resist the urge to break colors down too soon, because you think it'll make it better. So you only do it when that's the only way to make it better. And I did some paintings of simple things like winter squash and pears and stuff like that, where I worked as long as I could with it in a color for the light and a color for the dark on each object. I just kept working. It was an exercise, right? And I have no green. And then only when I thought I could not do one thing to make that better in the two colors, I broke it down into three: light, half light, and shadow. And only when I couldn't get that any better in three colors, then I broke it into more colors. So that's one way to think of it, is don't add detail until you have to. Resist the thought that detail is going to make your work better. That, oh, if I just make that a little more detailed, then everybody will get it. It's like, I don't think so.
I have that problem.
What? I'm not complaining about you. Go out and make money. That's what I say to you. It's the subject matter you choose. That's the difference. You have to start that. How else are you going to start that? If I had boats that close, I would have to start them like that too. That's why my boats are all these tiny things in the distance. Oh yeah, I was going to come in around these flowers.
The shapes of your leaves down below on the lower left.
Yeah.
Is that like, you have such a good memory for the way the leaf shape is supposed to look. I can't see it in your photo, but.
Oh yeah, they are here. I could never do it without them. I mean, I know what they are, I guess. I think it's rhubarb, but I'm not positive.
But I know you just scan the photo and then you have it like imprinted in your memory and you're able to duplicate the shape very well.
Oh, well, thanks. Smoke and mirrors. Well, I have really painted a long time. Yeah. And, it's like, okay, so if it gets messed up, it's pretty much like, so what? Because you can always paint over it. You can always do another painting. Or you can, really, really, truly believe. And I'm pretty sure it was that guy, Wolf Kahn, he might have been the one that said this, that the only bad painting is a painting you don't learn anything from. So I have my whole feel-good thing for myself that, and I know that one learns more from things that don't go like you really wish they had. At least for me, I pay a lot more attention when things didn't go like I hoped. And then if your reach isn't always exceeding your grasp, I mean, sometimes I think you should let yourself quit before you wreck a painting, because it is depressing to wreck paintings. Oops. Oh my God, when somebody here asked me what do I do when I put a big old blob of the wrong color on? Well, it happened to me twice. I think it was you. It happened to me twice yesterday. I was like, oh, and I got my paper towel and I had my little palette knife. I was trying to scrape it off, and then I just finished working on these two paintings, and I set them down on my tiny little shelf, and they fell over right on top of each other.
Oh,
They're
no.
both soaking wet. So that was depressing. But, you just have to like let it go, let it go,
Yeah.
let it go.
But what did you learn?
I learned that it's really annoying. That it doesn't really feel that good. And just try not to let anything in right lined up with something else. So you don't want something in the foreground to feel like it interrupted something in the background. So even if it's not true, just make it true. Oh, I lost my fence, but maybe I want my fence. I don't know. That's a good question. Whether I want my fence. And that no matter how small something is, it really helps to it needs to have light and shadow if you're doing the whole thing about light and shadow. Because if your small thing doesn't have light and shadow, then it looks flat and it doesn't look right with everything else.